Dear Mr. Marx, gentlemen, ministers of the interior, Mr. Boris Pistorius, Mr. Jäger, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it's nice that as the venue have selected the city of Bielefeld as the federation, Mr. Marx. You have really made a good choice here for two reasons. Bielefeld is one of the safest cities in the Federal Republic of Germany. And secondly, Bielefeld is also one of the most beautiful cities of the Federal Republic of Germany. Why do I make these two statements? Well, the first statement related to safety. Well, we've got statistical figures that are the proof of that. And as the Lord Mayor of this city, of course, I consider Bielefeld to be the most beautiful city in Germany. And you may judge for yourself what is more credible. Well, we've done whatever was possible in order to ensure that you will have a nice stay here. We asked for some sun. In Bielefeld, we do have some sun today. In the south of Germany, it is still raining, and I hope that during the Congress you will still have the possibility to visit the tourist attractions of our city. It's not a small town, Mr. Marx. I have to contradict you, and you are fully aware of this fact, of course. However, we are a city with urban attractions of a metropolis, but still being small enough not to lose sight of what's going on. And that is one of the interesting features of the city. So I hope that you will have some time to see what Bielefeld has got to offer and to experience the beauty of this town. More prevention, less victims. The Minister of the Interior has already spoken about that. Prevention is indeed the best protection for victims. And of course, it is as important to look at the perspective of victims and to support them as it is important to look at the perspective of perpetrators and criminals and look into their needs. Well, based on the agenda, it's my feeling that the perspective of the criminals has been given more importance in the public discussion in the past. In the general public discussion, the most important features are who was the criminal, who is the criminal, and how many years will he disappear in prison. Then to ask the question as to what actually the situation of the victim was and what could be done to support the victim. A month ago in Bielefeld, we celebrated the 10th anniversary of the network Opfer, which means assistance to victims. On the 22nd of March of every year, that's the day of the criminal if the crime of victim, we present that topic to the public of the city and make people aware of what's going on in this respect. This network comprises now 18 organizations and clubs in the city and has a very broad offer related to support and aid to the victims and their relatives, their family members and friends. This network, Opfer, assistance to victims, is just one example for preventive activities that take place in our city. Mr. Marx has already pointed to the fact that for 18 years, that's exactly the year in which your association was founded, for 18 years we've been walking along that path of prevention, crime prevention and activities with our partners. The partners are the police in Bielefeld and the University of Bielefeld. As a result, we have now built up a very broad, deeply anchored network of activities. It's the Social and Criminal Preventive Council of the City of Bielefeld, SKPR. The success story is based on two decisions, probably two features that were important when this council was founded. It was the participation of the University of Bielefeld in the first place. 18 years ago, it was nothing that could be taken for granted if you worked in police areas or in the area of authorities that look into law and order, that scientific researchers got also involved, that the university was taken on board. But the fact that the university has always participated in our activities, we sort of reached out farther and included the social component in our activities. That is something that is natural today, but it was not 18 years ago. And the founding fathers and founding mothers of our SKPR, Social and Criminal Preventive Council of Bielefeld, sometimes now report back to us, and they want to say something funny in saying that when there were the first encounters between policemen in uniform and social workers that worked at the university, what that was like. So, of course, they spoke different languages. They had to sort of get known to one another and learn from one another. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, now that this has become a tradition, and it is an encounter that doesn't see any barriers anymore. And the second reason when we founded our council was that from the very beginning we thought it was important that the steering committee of that SKPR also included the top bosses, so the police president, Dr. Katharina Gehre today, the Lord Mayor of the city, myself, and a high-ranking representative of the university, Professor Ziegler, today. It was important that all the bosses, as we call them, were on board, because in that interdisciplinary approach, it was important to really look beyond the scope of each and every authority or group and to link up the different activities, which means that whenever we meet as a steering body, we do not only discuss individual areas, but we look across the different scopes of maneuver, and that has led to the success of this SKPR. The SKPR has a large number of projects that were launched in Bielefeld. Let me just mention two of them. The Bielefeld Intervention Project, looking into men and violence in relationships, is one of them. It comprises 8 modules today. It starts with the first contact with the police and reaches out to health support for victims. All the different modules are interlinked and support one another, and the communication between the different players has been ensured. The action group Graffiti turned into the association Stadtklar in 2001. Here we've got long-term unemployed persons that work under the supervision of the Painters and Varnishers Trade Guild, and they work on between 6,000 and 9,000 square meters of municipal surfaces and buildings to clean them from graffiti, but at the same time they provide lawful space for graffiti, for lawful graffiti activities. I could mention lots of other different activities from the areas, prevention against violence, violence in sport, prevention against drug addiction, etc. But that would be too far-reaching. But all of these projects are based on that major network and the very trustful cooperation of the different players and stakeholders. But of course everything can always be improved, and it's also the grain of the truth that we lack financial funds, in particular those funds to correctly evaluate the result, the outcome of all of the projects that we have carried out. Therefore, in the context of this German Crime Prevention Day and the exchange that takes place also in other fields is of extraordinary importance for the continuation of our work on site. And second task that we are faced with is possibly a specific feature of our city, but it may be valid elsewhere. We have to manage the change of generations. After 18 years, the generation of the founding fathers and founding mothers of the SKPR will leave the organization, and we need to ensure the transfer of know-how in order not to lose on the different findings and experience that was acquired and built up. Ladies and gentlemen, these were just a few keywords. You see from these keywords that there's still a lot to do. There is still a lot of activity that needs to be continued. We are firmly convinced that crime prevention is the best protection of victims, and based on that motto, I wish this Congress a lot of success, and please, to all of you present here today, enjoy your stay in this beautiful city of Bielefeld.